This is just a quick instructional video on creating thesis statements and blueprints. The thesis statement is contains a limited subject and a precise opinion. So we're going to, generally we start with a topic, something that we're interested in. Then we have to narrow that down to a specific subject that is limited enough that we can completely cover it in the 5-paragraph essays that we have, in the word count that we have. And then your opinion needs to be just that. It needs to be an opinion. You're not going to state it as an opinion. It needs to be stated as a statement of fact. We don't say, I think, I feel, I believe. That's not arguable. So the the thesis statement has to be arguable. Somebody has to be able to say, I could argue against that. If you say, I believe this, then people can't argue against that. So just keep that in mind. So let's look at an example. So the general topic that we have is social media. And so I've decided I'm going to narrow that down and I'm going to talk about influencers. And my claim, my opinion, what I think about it, I've decided, or what I'm going to be able to write about, is that not all social media influencers have negative influences. So it has to be something that's arguable. Can I argue that not all are negative? Yes. Could some people argue that influencers are not valuable? Yes. So here's the thesis I developed. Now I want you to notice it's not just my claim statement. This is fleshed out into a statement that would connect with the rest of my introduction. Although social media is often viewed as a negative aspect of life, some influencers share helpful and positive things. So that is my claim, my thesis. Now what do? Now we have to create a blueprint. And the blueprint are the reasons that are going to support this. It's going to be your supports. Oops. So here are the rules for creating blueprints or about blueprints. They have to be in the order that you're going to present them. So if I say, if I'm going to talk about that they provide helpful tutorials, if that's the first thing I mention in my blueprint, that needs to be my first body paragraph. Each has to answer the same thing: how, why, when. So how are they helpful? When are they helpful? All items must be parallel. That means they need to be created in the same grammatical structure. Parallel means if we're going to say, think about items in a series. Anytime you write items in the series, they need to be structured the same way. So if you say he ran, he jumped, and he swam, all three of the items in that series are subject verb. If you said he ran, he jumped, and swam, you have subject verb, and verb. So it's not grammatically the same structure. Here's an example. So this is our thesis that we came up with. Although social media is often viewed as a negative aspect of life, some influencers share helpful and positive things. These include helpful tutorials, uplifting stories, and interesting activities. So they are all grammatically the same. We have an adjective and a noun. helpful tutorials, uplifting stories, interesting activities. Okay. They all could say, answer the same question. Influencers share helpful and positive things. Like what? Tutorials, stories, activities. When they share tutorials, stories, activities. So those have the same structure. What we don't want is, we could put this in one single sentence. We could say, although social media is often viewed as a negative aspect of life, some influencers share hopeful and positive things such as helpful tutorials, uplifting stories, and interesting activities. So it's okay if your thesis statement and blueprint are in one sentence. What you don't want is for your blueprint to be the heart of your, or the claim in your thesis statement. You don't want to say, although they're viewed as a negative aspect of life, some influencers share helpful tutorials, uplifting stories, and interesting activities. We've left out the opinion there when we do that. So just make sure you have a thesis and a blueprint, and that they're separate. If you put them into one sentence, it's still correct. So now it's your turn. You're going to create an introduction, and you're going to begin with your motivator. You're going to have your bridge. You're going to create your thesis and your